thought it was a remarkably poor performance. Given that the State of the Union address just a few months ago, before which had swirled all sorts of fears of his mental acuity, given that that address was so vigorous and confident and competent, I don't think very many people, period, regardless of political alignment, were prepared for him to be so incoherent and unpersuasive as he was last night. It is so many missed opportunities to rebut what Trump was saying more effectively, so many missed opportunities to present his own accomplishments more effectively, so many missed opportunities to zero in on the very issues that he knows voters are concerned most about, including ones that play to his own strengths, like abortion rights. And so it was about the worst possible outcome in the debate that Democrats could imagine. But there's a whole elaborate procedure. It would require a majority of his own cabinet who are loyal to him to say that they believe that he's not fit to be president. People went through this before with Donald Trump. There was some conjecture about that. It's just not very likely to happen unless he's in a coma. Ordinarily, debates don't tend to move the needle in presidential campaigns. That surprises people because you think the debates matter greatly. We have this kind of Lincoln Douglas notion of the debate as the highest form of political engagement. But you can have a weak debate, still win the presidency. Obama had a weak first debate and still won the presidency, et cetera, et cetera. You could go through all of political history and show this. But I think there's a serious problem for Biden in that the number one thing he had to do was to show that he was, simply had command of the ability to form a sentence, and that this concern about his age and his mental acuity was overblown, which only required a weak debate performance, but one that seemed within the realm of competence. And instead, he couldn't even rise to that. So for that reason, I think that this debate performance mattered more than most, in that it reaffirmed the number one worry and the number one concern of voters in him. And now, how could he be replaced? That's a tall order at this point. I mean, bear in mind, he has won the presidency against Trump before. He's the only president to have beaten Donald Trump. He's the only candidate to have beaten Donald Trump in a prior national election. And then he has received millions and millions and millions of primary votes, and there were some minor, competition, and he is the Democratic nominee. So there's an enormous amount of, I wouldn't say inertia, but there's an enormous presumption that he will be the nominee. And then you have one bad night's debate performance, and a case can be made that it would be a sign of panic, desperation, and wouldn't go well for the Democrats if they tried to replace him, that they should stick with their guy and give him another shot at another debate in September and at the convention, and that he's their best shot. So that will be one side of the argument in coming days. The other side of the argument, especially if the polling looks terrible, if Trump all of a sudden surges to 6 or 8% lead, and if national elected Democrats, like in the House and the Senate, say to Biden, you've got to withdraw, this is going to be catastrophic, we're going to lose all branches of government, then the way that it would unfold would be that and we've never seen anything like this in our lifetimes, but that the convention would actually become what political conventions used to be. It would become a decision-making body, and it would become a wide open question who would take Biden's place. It would have to be that Biden would release his delegates, because right now they've all been elected in primaries, committed to Biden, coming to the Democratic National Convention in Chicago later this summer, committed to Biden. And Biden would have to withdraw from the race. So it's a Biden decision. He'd have to withdraw from the race and then release the delegates. The delegates would then be able to pick a new nominee at the convention. Presumably that would be Vice President Kamala Harris. But other candidates could put their hat in the ring. It would be very, very tough to not pick Kamala Harris, given that Black women are the strongest Democratic base, that no presidential election can be won without Democratic women. I mean, without African-American women. And if the Democrats seem to snub the leading African-American woman already on the ticket in favor of somebody like Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, who's a popular possibility, or even Gretchen Whitmer, governor of Michigan, a swing state, if Black women are seen as insulted by throwing Kamala Harris overboard, that would be a problem. Now, there's a dark horse candidate. I don't know, that's an American expression, by the way, dark horse. It means a long shot in politics. But, there could be a movement to draft Michelle Obama and have an Obama-Harris ticket in which Kamala Harris would continue to be vice president. But the very popular, enormously popular Michelle Obama would take the ticket at lead place on the ticket. I don't think she wants it. She might be draftable if she's convinced that otherwise Trump would take the presidency. I think Democrats might be thrilled and overjoyed by the prospect of a Michelle Obama, Donald Trump debate. But, I think all of this is high conjecture and, to be honest, very unlikely. It's much more likely that the Democratic National Committee says, the leading donors of the Democratic Party and the White House prevail and say Biden's the only choice, really. Biden is who the voters have picked in the Democratic primaries, and we can't really override the decision of the voters. It's really going to come down to the Bidens. It's going to come down to Joe Biden, because I don't think he can be replaced without him deciding to withdraw.